Join us as we head out for one of our very first ever raw vegan hiking overnight backpacking trips. We took our raw vegan burgers up onto a mountain, we pitched a tent, and we slept out on the mountains. See how we did it as raw vegans. Before our trips, we always make sure that we have absolutely everything that we're going to need for our trip. From our chairs and our sleeping bag, our air mattresses, the tent, everything that we're possibly going to need. Battery chargers, our tripod, first aid kits, cloths, everything. There's so many things to think about when you are going backpacking. And water, our jars, for our food bag, and of course, we can't forget our trekking poles either. I also made sure to bring my headlamp and some sunscreen. For water, we have our Osprey Camelbacks, and we brought extra water because you can never have too much water when you are backpacking, especially here in the desert. Even though it was a little cooler up in the Spring Mountains, we still made sure to bring enough water. But this is everything that we packed into our overnight backpacking packs to hike up the mountain. For food, we had some cold soaks. So these were made with some sprouted oats and some seeds, dried fruit, freeze-dried fruit, and we bought all of these from Winco. And we want to make our own freeze-dried and dehydrated items, but these ones were purchased because we didn't have enough time to make our own. We also have some sprouted and then dehydrated blooming black forbidden rice, some freeze-dried corn, and of course the dried miso. The miso helps so much with the seasonings. Here are more seasonings that we're going to put in our cold soak, and all of the dried vegetables. Here is our display ready to create our meals. So for our cold soaks, we put a lot of ingredients in our bowls. So dried onions and corn and all kinds of great stuff. And we put those in bags. We use a funnel so that we can pour everything in there. These are a tomato curry style creamy kind of a veggie mix, and each bag is about 900 calories. Because it's dried, there's a lot more calories in these. We just add water, let it soak for about 3 or 4 hours, and we have our lunch. So here are our lunches for the next day, ready to go into our food bag. And finally, we have to prep our burgers. So Nate made the burgers and we dehydrated those for a little bit before we left for our trip. After we packed up, we drove up to the Spring Mountains. Our goal was to find a spot to camp for the night and also to climb to Fletcher's Peak. That was our plan for the first day, and then the next day we would just hike back down from our camp spot. So the trail itself was incredibly beautiful as always. Lots of lush greenery in the beginning. It was a steady incline up through the valley of the mountains, and it wasn't long until we found our way up to the steeper incline headed up to the mountain. We found this little hut that was made by somebody, cute little house, and we started climbing. It was, again, like I said, a very, very steep climb, and in some areas the trail was pretty thin and very rocky. Highly recommend hiking poles for the Fletcher Peak trail. We found the bristlecone pines, some of the oldest trees on earth. These are so incredibly beautiful. They're like cattails and very inviting, very cozy. We found our way up to the top, or almost the top, and we hung out with some people. We spent about an hour maybe half hour to an hour talking with some new people that we found. And then we made our way to Rain Tree. Now, Rain Tree is one of the oldest living things in Nevada. Some say it's between 3,000 and 5,000 years old. These are our new friends. They are plant-based, and we talked about all kinds of things, and they hiked with us a little bit on the way up to Rain Tree. This is Mummy's Toe, which is another mountain peak in the Spring Mountain area, and we got to see a lot of that on the way up to Fletcher's Peak. So as we traveled up and down the hills, we eventually found our way into the mystical bristlecone pines of the higher peaks on the way up to Fletcher Peak. These bristlecones are seriously majestic and incredible. It was really hard not to stop and just film everything and take a bunch of pictures because they are truly magnificent and fairy-like, very breathtaking. We continued on and made our way up the very steep hill to the top of Fletcher's Peak. Up here we had some dried mangoes and we ate some fruit and just enjoyed the accomplishment of climbing up to the very top of this peak. We had already spotted a potential place to camp for the night. So after we spent some time on the peak, we headed back down to find our camp spot. The spot that we found was slightly off the trail and protected by a bunch of trees. It was actually very, very windy up there, but it wasn't so windy in our little spot here. Nate set up our Trekology chairs, which were really, really nice to have, to be able to sit in those. They're not too heavy and they were really nice to have. And while he was setting up everything, I pulled all of the stuff out of the food bag and started setting up to make dinner. Nate was going to pitch the tent and I was going to make the food. We have our burgers in our vacuum sealed bag, our lettuce, tomatoes, avocado, and we have some pickles ready to go on our burgers. So again, as Nate was pitching the tent, I assembled our burgers. We had some red onion and we put the purple cabbage as the outside of our burgers. I chopped everything up on our cutting board that we brought. If you're looking for recipes like this, please head into the description below and grab our ebooks. The burgers are in the burger book and you can get 40% off any or all of our ebooks with code RAWFOOD40. So Nate finished pitching the tent and I took a little bit of film of some of the area that we were in. It was so beautiful. This piece of wood was beautiful decoration as part of our little home for the night. Show us how it's done.
All right, so we got the bladder bag hooked up. You just give little breaths, kind of keeping your face away from the bag. Look at that. You see that? You don't have to put your mouth like in the bag.
Isn't that awesome? And then you just blow up the mattress without huffing and puffing.
Just a couple huffs.
Couple huffs.
A couple huffs and a couple puffs.
Let's do it again. That's great. Ingenious invention. Whoever came up with that, amazing. This is a pretty cool spot. Let's go see over here. Look what we've got over here. We're gonna watch sunset. It's windy, but it's beautiful. Yes. Once everything was all set up, it was time for dinner. We have our burgers all assembled and ready to enjoy. It is totally possible to choose raw vegan meals even if you are hiking up a mountain. Sometimes fresh is best, and we are blessed to be able to do this and hike this up. Yes.
I'm a happy hiker.
Happy hiker. Dinner and a view. Look at that. We had a couple little pieces of our burger fall into the ground, and the ants had a great time finding pieces of lettuce and purple cabbage and taking it back to their house. So there are no bears up in the Spring Mountains, but there are other little animals like foxes that could dig into our food. So we have this tree set up, just some ropes and a rock, and we hang it in a tree so animals won't be able to get into it. Plus, our bag is a heavy-duty bag meant to protect against animals getting into our food. As the sun set, we enjoyed a little bit of relaxed time together and brushed our teeth, of course. I did a little skincare routine with my Osea products. We played some chess and went to bed. After a wonderful sleep, we woke up to another beautiful blue sunny sky day, and we got out our sprouted oats that were mixed with seeds, and we did forget to bring the freeze-dried fruit that we wanted to add to our breakfast, but that's okay. We always learn something every time we go, making sure that we will bring our freeze-dried fruit next time we come. So we have our containers that we just pour our sprouted oats and other nuts and seeds in there. We add our water, and then we just let it soak for about 20 minutes or so, and then we can eat that for our breakfast. We also added some chopped apple. We brought some apples with us, and we chopped those and added them to our little breakfast here. And that was absolutely delicious. Of course, we wanted to have enough fuel to sustain us for our really long hike back down. We also have to start soaking our cold soaks. So these were the ones that I made in the beginning of the video. Again, we will have recipes for our cold soaks coming in 2024. We're going to be working on a recipe book on how to make these. But these are the ones that we took, and as Nate was doing a little bit of stretching, I set up so that we could start soaking our cold soaks. They're very, very easy to soak. All you have to do is grab some containers that are big enough to hold your cold soak and some water, and then you just empty them into the containers and add water. Super simple. You really want to do this a good 4 hours before mealtime to allow the dehydrated and freeze-dried food to absorb the water. So we add enough water to cover the dehydrated vegetables and all the spices and everything, and then we mix it up really well. We like to do this in the morning before the hike, and again 4 hours before mealtime. So once those start soaking, we can put the lids on and then just put them into our backpacks. We hung out at camp for a little bit. We didn't want to feel rushed or anything to take everything down. So we just really enjoyed our time together in nature. And when it was time to go, we packed everything up, and Nate really likes to see how much our packs weigh. My pack ended up being 21 pounds approximately for the way down. It was heavier on the way up. And as was his. Of course, we ate a lot of the food and drank a lot of the water, so that took a lot of the weight off. I think Nate's was about 42 pounds when we came up, and now it's 34, 35 pounds on the way down. We said goodbye to our wonderful campsite. We will definitely be back to this area for another overnight set at some point. But we headed back down towards Rain Tree where we would have our lunch. Once we got to Rain Tree, we're definitely ready for some lunch. We set up our Trekology chairs again and went into the food bag, pulled out our cold soaks. These were so delicious. I honestly love when we do a camping trip because we get to eat these. They're so delicious, absolutely delicious. Creamy coconut tomato curry. We also had a little bit of red onion that we had left over from our burgers last night, and some of the iceberg lettuce from the center of our lettuce buns. So we had saved those so that we could make little tacos while we ate our lunch and used up all of the vegetables that we had left over. This is Rain Tree. Again, one of the oldest living trees in Nevada. Beautiful root system, incredibly gorgeous. I am absolutely in love with bristlecone pines, and this is one of the most beautiful. Time to head back down, and again, you need poles for this one. It's pretty steep. The way down, I would definitely prefer going up the way down next time. I probably wouldn't do the other way. It was a lot steeper than this one. This one was definitely easier, would probably be easier to climb up. But again, it's it's up anyways, so it's a challenge, but it is incredibly beautiful. So we headed down, took a couple hours to get back down to our truck, but it was definitely worth it. made it back to the truck. Grateful for our successful overnight backpacking hiking trip as raw vegans. And this is where we were. We slept way up there, somewhere in around here. I have a little arrow here to show kind of about where we were sleeping. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, please don't hesitate to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click like if you liked the video. And don't forget that you can find our ebooks on the website payhip.com/rawfoodromance. The link is in the description box below, and you can enjoy 40% off any or all of our raw vegan recipe ebooks with code RAWFOOD40. So again, hope you enjoyed, hope you loved our little overnight adventure, and it inspired you to possibly do the same. Until the next video, fruit on.